She stepped in for her sick sister at the cafe. Discover the incredible connection with Table 3. Emily had never intended to step behind the counter that day. It was supposed to be her sister Sarah's shift at the cafe, but a sudden fever had Emily slipping into her apron with a sigh. Just another day of juggling the weight of life's responsibilities. She inhaled the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee, a temporary comfort that masked the worries creeping into her mind. With each clatter of dishes and cheerful chatter around her, she held firmly onto the hope that her relentless shifts could create a better future for young Jake. As the day unfolded, Emily found herself at Table 3, where the struggles of life sat in a haphazard mix. There was Johnny, a veteran with a burst of laughter like a cannon, but in his eyes lingered unspoken battles. Lisa, fresh out of high school, had her sharp wit cloaked in the burden of family debt, her posture a gaunt reflection of worry. Mr. Thompson, the elderly widower, carried with him a century of heartache wrapped in gentle stories of love and loss. The warmth of their companionship filled the cafe like the vibrating chords of a familiar song. "Times are tough," Johnny said, his hand wrapping around a coffee mug like it was a lifeline. Emily listened, her heart swelling with empathy as he spoke of dreams he once had, now buried beneath a mountain of what-ifs. Lisa chimed in with her own dreams, a fierce glint in her eye, punctuated by the reality of unpaid bills. Mr. Thompson nodded knowingly, sharing tales that dripped with nostalgia, his wisdom echoing in their hearts. But the cheerful melody of community began to unwind when a stranger at a nearby table scoffed, eyes rolling, judging Johnny with disdain. In that moment, a switch flicked inside Emily. She could feel the air grow cold, and her heart raced like a freight train. It was about dignity, about every struggle being worthy of respect. "Excuse me," she interjected, voice trembling yet determined, "that's not fair. Everyone here has a story." Her words hung heavy, filling the cafe with palpable tension. There was a moment of silence, collective breaths held as patrons exchanged glances. And then, as if sparked by some invisible thread, the mood shifted. The piercing silence softened into a buzz, where other voices joined in unison, stories of support, kindness, and community flooded out. Emily's worries about her sister and her own trials faded into the background for a brief moment, replaced by the lantern light of hope. She couldn't help but smile, touched by their unity. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." As the cafe buzzed with excitement, Emily felt the weight of her responsibilities linger. Would her sister's health weigh her spirit down, overshadowing the warmth in the room? But then, the best surprise unfolded right before her eyes. Table 3 was concocting a plan, whispering about a fundraiser to support Sarah's recovery when all else seemed lost. In that moment, the essence of community wrapped around Emily like a warm embrace. The newfound support was more than just a lifeline, it was a glimmer, a chance for change. Would she be brave enough to follow this unexpected path towards hope, or would the heavy chains of her worries drag her back down? The questions echoed in her mind, leaving a trail of uncertainty and excitement that lingered as she glanced around at those who had once been strangers, now united in purpose. What would tomorrow bring? Emily watched as whispers turned into plans. The cafe, once a backdrop for solitary struggles, transformed into a vibrant community hub, like a spark igniting a dry forest. She felt hope swell within her, dancing on the edges of her heart. Every face around Table 3 had witnessed the rawness of life, yet they were determined to reshape their own stories for her sister, for one another, for themselves. "Let us meet tomorrow, then. After your shift. We can brainstorm ideas," Lisa suggested, her fingers tapping rhythmically against the table. There was an infectious energy in her voice, and it resonated with everyone gathered. Emily's heart raced. The thought of a fundraising effort felt like a lifeline thrown into stormy waters. "I'll bring some posters," Johnny chimed in, gratitude filling his tone. "People love to support good causes. They just need to know someone needs help." Mr. Thompson's eyes sparkled with wisdom. "And I can share Sarah's story. Sometimes, words can be more powerful than money." Emily's throat tightened as she imagined sharing her sister's journey, the ups and downs, the battles fought silently. The cafe's warmth wrapped around her, and between the laughter and chatter, Emily felt the isolation she had carried for so long lifting. For the first time in a long while, she wasn't alone in her struggles. People believed in her, in Sarah, in the possibility of hope. The doubts that usually simmered in the back of her mind didn't stand a chance against the rising tide of compassion. But as she glanced toward the door, a creeping fear knotted her stomach. What if nothing changed? What if their plans fell flat? Her instincts tugged at her, warning her that reaching out meant vulnerability, and vulnerability felt scary. "Are you okay?" Lisa's voice broke through Emily's haze, concern etched on her face. "Yeah, just thinking," Emily replied, feigning composure. But inside, a storm brewed. Could she trust these connections developing over coffee and shared burdens? Would they truly rally together for Sarah, or was this just an escape from their own weighty lives? The table continued discussing logistics, laughter echoing around her. But Emily's thoughts remained tangled. It was one thing to step into the cafe to cover for her sister. It was another challenge entirely to navigate the waters of unexpected friendships and shared ambitions. As the day turned to dusk and the cafe began to quiet, Emily felt the flicker of determination ignite within her. It was time to step outside her comfort zone. She could leverage this moment, embrace the uncertainty. "Okay," she thought, fighting back tears. "Tomorrow, I will let them in." She glanced around at the faces now so familiar to her, each one filled with unique stories that intertwined with her own. The courage that emerged felt like a fresh wind beneath her wings. "I can do this," she whispered, feeling strength flow through her. But just then, the cafe door swung open, and the stranger from earlier stepped inside again. There was a hard edge to his expression. A flash of anger crossed his face as he locked eyes with Johnny. Emily's blood ran cold. Was he back to disrupt their fragile harmony? Not again, she thought, panic rising. Would he strike down their collective spirit before it even had a chance to flourish? The tension in the cafe thickened, and Emily found her heart racing anew as she sensed the potential for conflict, and her stomach churned with uncertainty about what could happen next. Would the bonds of Table 3 hold strong against the chill of judgment? Or would their glimmer of community fall apart under pressure? The moment the stranger entered, the warm buzz of the cafe faded into a nervous silence. Emily's grip tightened around her coffee cup, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. Had he come to cause trouble again? Or was today different? Johnny had tensed, his earlier friendliness replaced by caution. Mr. Thompson shifted in his seat, his eyes darting between the new arrival and the door, as if expecting support at any moment. Lisa leaned closer to Emily, her silent question reflected in her wide eyes. "What do you want?" Johnny finally broke the quiet, his voice steady but edged with a hint of vulnerability. "Just wanted to talk," the stranger replied, his tone less confrontational this time, though the anger still flickered in his eyes like a flame brimming beneath the ash. Emily couldn't tell if this was a more genuine approach or a tactical retreat. "Talk?" Johnny echoed, crossing his arms defiantly. "About what?" "About Sarah." The name hung in the air, casting a blanket of unease. Emily's heart sank as she processed the implication. Was he here to drag her sister's name through the mud? "Just back off," Lisa interjected, her protective instincts taking over. "We're working on something important for her." The man's expression softened slightly. "I get that, but she's not the only one with a story." His eyes searched the table, lingering on each face, including Emily's. I just want a chance to explain. To tell my side. The cafe seemed to hold its breath, a fragile moment balancing on the edge of revelation or conflict. Emily felt her cheeks flush with uncertainty. Could they trust him? Would hearing his side help or hurt their cause? Her heart ached at the thought of Sarah's struggles overshadowed by this man's past. Can we trust you? Emily finally found her voice, the fear wrapping tightly around her words. She resisted the urge to look away, forcing herself to stare into the storm brewing behind his gaze. Trust is built, not given, he said quietly, almost as if he were sharing a hard-won truth. I'm not proud of my past, but I want to change. And I think I can help Sarah somehow. A hush fell again. Emily glanced around the table, sensing the shifting currents of emotions. Was it possible that this stranger, flawed as he seemed, might hold the key to something they all needed? But doubt gnawed at her. Was it worth the risk? Could she invite him in and still protect her sister? Maybe we should hear him out, Mr. Thompson suggested, his voice calm yet reassuring, as if he were wielding wisdom like a shield against the unknown. People can surprise us. Another silence stretched out. Emily weighed the options, her thoughts running wild. Hope swirled with skepticism as a fragile bond was tested. Okay, she said at last, the word trembling on her lips. Let us hear your story. The stranger nodded once, relief flickering across his features, but Emily wasn't ready to let her guard down. Inside, she felt like she was stepping onto a tightrope, her heart racing with the height of vulnerability. As they settled into an awkward silence, it struck her just how tangled their fates had become. Emily knew they had just crossed a line. Would this stranger strengthen their community or prove to be yet another challenge? Each heartbeat echoed with the weight of potential. Tomorrow loomed large, anticipation hanging thick in the air, but tonight felt like the beginning of an even bigger storm. Would she find the courage to navigate these rocky waters, or would she let herself be swept away? Emily glanced toward the window, where the world outside continued oblivious. She took a deep breath, readying herself for whatever might come next. She wouldn't back down now. This battle wasn't just about her sister anymore. As the stranger began to speak, a new question formed in Emily's mind. Could redemption truly find a place among the chaos, or was it merely a mirage on the horizon? The stranger cleared his throat, his eyes flickering nervously from Emily to Johnny and back. My name is Colin and I was Sarah's boyfriend. The words weighed heavily in the air, like stones thrown into deep water. Emily felt a rush of emotion surge through her: confusion, anger, a hint of sympathy. You? Her boyfriend? The disbelief in her voice was palpable. How could he have thought he could waltz in here like this? Johnny's frown deepened, and Lisa shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Yeah, I know. It's surprising. Colin ran a hand through his unruly hair. But it's true. She hasn't told you everything about me, has she? There was a challenge in his voice, as if daring them to refute him. Right, because you're the one to give her advice about stories, Johnny said bitterly. You're just trying to manipulate us. Not manipulate. I'm trying to explain, Colin pleaded, his voice growing more urgent. For months, Sarah and I were close until I messed things up in a way I can never take back. Taking a deep breath, Emily was struck by the vulnerability in his eyes. For a moment, the rage that simmered inside her dimmed, replaced by a fragile curiosity. What happened? Colin glanced down at the table, as if searching for the right words among the coffee stains. I had my own demons. I didn't handle her struggles well. I was a coward. He looked up, and Emily caught the glint of unshed tears. I should have been there for her. Instead, I pushed her away. Tears pricked Emily's eyes. She thought of Sarah, her laughter, the way she lit up any room. I don't understand. If you truly cared about her, then why didn't you fight for her? Because I thought I was protecting her. I thought leaving would help her heal. His voice cracked as he continued, I was wrong. I've realized that now, and I need to make it right. The silence hung heavy, thickening around them. Emily felt the fight drain out of her. Questions whirled in her mind. Was it really change he sought? Or was he simply trying to relive his own guilt? We don't know you, Lisa chimed in, her tone unreadable. How can we trust you now? Colin nodded, clearly prepared for this part. I can't expect you to. But I have something that might help. Something I couldn't bring myself to share with Sarah back then. He hesitated, his hands gripping the table. I have information that could help her about her condition. About the treatment that's affected her more than she realizes. Emily's heart thudded violently against her ribcage. A tangle of emotions erupted within her. The thought of Sarah getting better, getting the help she needed, was overwhelming, but at what cost? Was trusting Colin a step toward healing or a leap into chaos? Why should we believe you? Johnny demanded again, his jaw tightening. Because I owe it to her, Colin replied, his voice almost a whisper. We were still in love when I left. I made a terrible mistake, and I have to fix this. Emily's instinct screamed at her. Was letting him into their lives another one of his games? Another heartbreak waiting to happen? But the flicker of hope in Colin's words was tempting, pulling at her heart like a magnet. So what do you propose? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Colin took a deep breath, as if bracing for impact. Let me tell you everything. You can decide if I'm worth trusting afterward. Only then could we truly start to make things right. Emily sat back in her chair, awareness creeping in. Her sister's future hung in the balance, tangled with a past they had only begun to unravel. The heaviness of the cafe pressed in around her, thick with unspoken fears and fragile hopes. As the silence resumed, Emily felt the weight of the decision looming before her. Should she step towards redemption or keep her sister at arm's length? The cafe buzzed with distant chatter, oblivious to the turmoil brewing at their table. In that moment, she realized that their world was about to change forever, but in which direction? Would the risk bring them closer to healing, or drag them deeper into the storm? Colin's gaze shifted from one face to another, seeking a flicker of understanding. Emily studied him closely, weighing his sincerity against the pain in her sister's eyes. The room felt too small, too filled with hidden truths, and even the aroma of fresh coffee couldn't mask the tension hanging in the air. Tell us what you know, Emily said, her voice steady but tinged with uncertainty. It felt like she was teetering on the edge of a cliff, ready to dive into an uncertain abyss. Colin took another deep breath, gathering his thoughts. It's about the medication Sarah's been taking. I overheard conversations, people talking about options that could be been explored. His words tumbled out, quick but deliberate. There's a new treatment available. It's experimental, but it might give her a fighting chance. Experimental? Johnny interrupted, his skepticism palpable. You think we want to risk Sarah's health on some half-baked solution? We're not doing that. Wait, Emily interjected, feeling a surge of hope push against the walls of doubt. What if this really could help her? Lisa glanced between them, biting her lip. But if it's experimental, what if it backfires? We don't even know what you're really saying, Colin. Colin's voice softened. I get your fear. But after everything, I swear I would never encourage anything that could harm her. I just want a chance to rectify my mistakes, to help her in any way I can. The silence in the cafe had shifted slightly, sympathetic eyes nearby cast glances toward their table. Even in a bustling space, this conversation somehow pulled them into its orbit. What do you mean by rectify? Emily pressed, her heart racing. You are not just talking about this treatment. You're talking about Sarah. What do you really want? Colin swallowed, an almost imperceptible shake in his hands. I want her to know that I'm sorry. I was selfish. I thought leaving would save her pain, but it only added to it. I still love her." The last few words hung in the air, raw and exposed. A bolt of electricity coursed between the three of them. Air pooled in Emily's lungs, and for a moment, she saw Colin not just as an antagonist but as a man consumed by regret. Could this be their chance? Could Sarah's story have a different ending? But then doubt crept back in like a shadow. "And what if we give you a chance and you mess it up again?" It was Lisa who voiced the fear everyone was holding. "What if you hurt her all over again?" Colin flinched at the words, his eyes widening. "I understand that, truly. All I'm asking for is a moment to show you and Sarah. If we don't try something different, how can we claim to help her?" Emily's chest tightened as she looked from Colin to Johnny and Lisa. She wanted desperately to protect Sarah, but was staying still really an option? "I need to think," she said finally, her voice trembling. "We all need to think." Colin nodded, hope mingled with despair in his expression. "I understand. But please, just consider it. For Sarah." As the tension weaved through the conversation, Emily's heart raced, caught in a web of emotions. Each heartbeat echoed uncertainty while simultaneously igniting a small flicker of hope in her otherwise clouded thoughts. Suddenly, Lisa turned to Emily, her brow furrowed. "What if he's right? What if this is the answer we've all been looking for?" With a heavy heart, Emily felt the weight of a decision pressing down upon her. There were too many unknowns, too many risks. Could she truly trust Colin with her sister's life? In that moment, she heard the familiar chime of the cafe door as a gust of wind spilled in, stirring the air and her racing thoughts. What happens next? She wondered, looking at Colin, then at her friends. Was the path forward one of hope, or would it lead to more heartbreak? As she sat there, grappling with the enormity of the choice before her, she couldn't shake off one nagging thought: what if this was the last chance they had to save Sarah? And what if it all fell apart? With time slipping through her fingers, she knew the decision loomed large ahead, but what would it reveal? Emily felt the weight of silence pressing in on her, suffocating yet oddly comforting. The cafe's clinking cups and rattling chairs faded as she tried to process the gravity of Colin's words. She glanced over at Lisa, whose eyes were wide with a blend of fear and hope, and then at Johnny, who stared at Colin as if trying to pierce through the layer of vulnerability he had just revealed. "Colin," Emily finally spoke, her voice edged with the quiver of uncertainty. "If we even consider this, how will it work? You say it's experimental. What does that mean for Sarah?" Colin leaned in, urgency threading through his voice as he sketched the outlines of the treatment. "The trial has shown promising results in a small group of patients. They're administering a combination of therapies that target the root of the illness itself rather than just the symptoms." Hope lingered in Emily's heart. Could it be true? "And you really believe that it can save her?" "I do," he said earnestly, leaning forward, the intensity of his gaze steady. "But we have to act fast. She's not going to get better on her own. Waiting might see her getting worse." Those words hit home, ringing in Emily's ears like a death knell. Her mind raced, spiraling through flashes of Sarah's smile, her laughter, but also the quiet moments when she felt so fragile and alone. "Okay," Emily whispered, a solemn determination blossoming within her. "We'll consider it. But you need to be transparent with us. Every detail." The hope in Colin's expression lit up the dimness that had settled over the table. "I promise. I'll bring you everything. I have papers, people who've been through it, connections. Just give me a chance to show you that I mean what I say." Before she could respond, a figure caught her eye. At the entrance, a tall woman with curly hair stepped inside, visibly searching the room. Emily felt her heart race again. It was Sarah's best friend, Mia. Mia spotted them and hurried over, worry etched across her features. What is going on? She asked, breathless from the unexpected rush. I heard from Sarah that you guys were here. Perfect timing, Emily thought, a glimmer of hope weaving its way through her mind. Finally, someone who needed to be part of this conversation. We were just discussing Sarah's treatment options, Emily said, her voice steady now as she included Mia. Colin has information on an experimental therapy that might help her. Mia's brow furrowed. Really? Is it something solid, or just a wild idea? It's a bit of both, I guess, Johnny answered, his voice clipped. We're sitting on a metaphorical fence, weighing the risks against any potential benefit. Look, Colin said, his frustration bubbling just under the surface. I know it's a lot to take in. But I swear, if there's any chance that this treatment could save her. Mia's gaze softened, giving Colin a moment of grace. You hurt her once. But if you're truly here to make amends, then let us focus on Sarah. What do you need from us? We need to get Sarah's medical records and see if she qualifies for the study, Colin responded. But we have to do it soon. There are deadlines. The chatter in the cafe resumed around them, but for Emily, it was as if time had slowed, the conversations and laughter becoming distant echoes. She felt the weight of every decision pressing on her heart, the fear of making the wrong choice constantly gnawing at her conscience. What if it works? Emily wondered aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. What if it doesn't? Johnny challenged, his worry clear. As their voices blended into the background noise, she pictured Sarah lying in her hospital bed, eyes dimmed with uncertainty. They were fighting for a spark, a chance to rekindle hope in her sister's life. Let us call her, Mia suggested, determination ringing in her voice. Let us decide together. Gripping her phone, Emily's fingers trembled with the weight of the moment. She needed to be sure. Okay, but if we're doing this, we'll all be in it together. There are no half measures now. She pressed the number, resolved to bring her sister into this critical conversation. The phone rang, and with each beep, hope surged and receded. What would Sarah say? Would they be embarking on a journey that could lead to healing or heartache anew? As the line connected, Emily held her breath. What would Sarah's answer reveal? Hello? The familiar voice crackled through the line, fragile yet unmistakable. It was Sarah. Hey! It's Emily, she said, gripping her phone tighter, almost as if she could will her sister's strength through the device. We're at the cafe and Colin's here. We need to talk. A silence settled on the other end, thick and heavy. Emily could almost hear Sarah's heart racing in response. Colin? About what? He's found out about this experimental therapy, something that might help you. Emily's voice was steady, despite the storm brewing inside her. She could sense the weight of her sister's doubts. Silence stretched again. What do you mean might help me? Sarah's tone was cautious, edged with vulnerability. Colin leaned closer, catching the tension in the air. It's a combination of treatments that have shown promise. But, we need to act quickly. Emily took a deep breath. Sarah, can you trust Colin just this once? He wants to help you. We all want to help you. Emily, you know the odds, what if it doesn't work? Sarah's voice quivered like a fragile leaf in the wind, full of uncertainty. Colin's eyes met Emily's, his expression a mixture of urgency and sincerity. I know it seems risky, but we're not here to mislead you. I wouldn't ask if I didn't believe it could make a difference. You don't understand, Sarah interrupted, pain lacing every word. I don't want you all going down this path if there's no real hope. I've seen so many treatments come and go. It just breaks my heart. Mia chimed in, her own voice catching Emily's attention. Sarah, I care about you, and so does everyone here. We'd never suggest this if we didn't see a flicker of hope. You deserve to fight. Please. There was a pause, a moment where Emily sensed Sarah's world crashing and burning, and then being born anew through determination. I don't want you to face this alone, Emily said softly. But I need to know if you're with us, if you're willing to try. No more half measures, Sarah breathed, almost as if affirming a vow. Colin's face cracked into the smallest smile. Exactly. We'll fight for you, but we need you to take that first step with us. Emily could hear a soft exhale from Sarah, a release of fear. Okay, let us do it. But I need all of you to promise this 1000%. No backing out if it gets tough. You all have to be in it with me. Mia's eyes glistened with tears. Always, Sarah. We're in it together. Johnny nodded, even though Sarah couldn't see him. We're your team. You'll never have to do this alone. Then let us do it, Sarah said, courage flowing through her words like blooming flowers breaking through frost. As the conversation shifted to planning the next steps, Emily felt a calm spread through her, replacing the anxiety that had gripped her heart moments before. They had taken that leap together, stepping into uncharted territory, but with a purpose they all shared. Still, one question echoed in her mind. What if this led them to something miraculous? Or what if they faced devastation anew? Emily glanced at Colin. Hope hung in the air like a fragile thread. Are you ready for the next step, then? He asked, his enthusiasm palpable. I'll get the ball rolling. But before they could dive into details, Sarah's voice dropped an octave. Wait. What if we don't find out until it's too late? What if we lose out on time? That unease gnawed at Emily once more. They all had hoped for a miracle, but the uncertainty lay coiled within them, waiting to strike. Emily, we need to face that fear head-on, Sarah continued, her voice stronger now. I'm ready if you are. Just promise we won't give up, no matter what we find out. Emily nodded, even though Sarah couldn't see her. The weight of what lay ahead loomed like a storm cloud. Promise. No matter what. But uncertainty still shadowed them. Little did they know that the path they were on would lead them to the heart of more than just a medical trial. It would start unearthing truths none of them were prepared for. As they prepared to embark on this journey, one thought echoed in Emily's mind: what were they willing to sacrifice for the possibility of hope? And would they be ready for the discoveries this trial would bring? The café buzzed with the chatter of patrons, a comforting backdrop to the heavy decisions being made. Emily took a moment to collect her thoughts, feeling the warmth of the sun spilling through the window beside them. It illuminated their table, where Sarah, Colin, Mia, and Johnny sat closely together, united in purpose. Okay, Colin said, breaking the tension as he pulled out a small notebook. Let us go over what we know about the therapy. Emily noticed Sarah's fingers fidgeting with the edge of the tablecloth. How many sessions are we looking at? Colin's brow furrowed with concentration. 3 sessions per week for the first month, and then we'll reassess. That's if she's physically able to handle it. Wait, Sarah interrupted, her voice rising slightly. What if I can't handle it? I don't want to put everyone through that if I can't do it. Sarah, Mia said gently, it's about taking steps. You won't know until you try. Emily couldn't help but admire the camaraderie in the group. They all leaned in closer, focusing on Sarah as if their collective energy could bolster her resolve. Colin gave Sarah a nod, encouraging her to continue. Just tell me how it works, Sarah said, steadying her breath. It's a mix of medication and intensive physical therapy, Colin explained. You'd probably have side effects, but they should pass. The goal is to strengthen your body and mind. We've seen people gain mobility and confidence. Confidence, Sarah murmured, her voice distant. That's something I feel like I've lost recently. The vulnerability in her admission dug deep into Emily's heart. You can regain it, sis, she said softly, squeezing Sarah's hand. We're here to help you find it. A weight fell upon the cafe as they sat in silence, processing the gravity of their situation. The noise around them faded to a dull roar, blending in with their thoughts. "All right," Sarah finally said, determination punctuating her words. "I'll do it. But I need all of you to be my support. Promise me we take it one step at a time." Mia smiled, tears bubbling in her eyes. "You can count on us." "Always," Johnny echoed, his voice firm and reassuring. "And I'll be there for every step," Emily promised, her heart swelling with pride for her sister's bravery. As they shifted their focus to logistics, arranging appointments and medical consultations, a sudden commotion pulled their attention. A couple at a nearby table had raised their voices, the tension palpable. The older gentleman stood up angrily, throwing his hands in the air. "Enough of this nonsense. They think they can just push me around like this?" Intrigued, the group turned their heads to watch. Was he referring to something bigger? Emily's curiosity piqued, and she exchanged a glance with Colin. "What is going on over there?" she whispered. Colin shrugged, but the fire in his eyes indicated he was also intrigued. The woman seated across from the man was trying to calm him down, her voice low but steady. "We'll figure this out. Just give them time." "Time," the man huffed. "Like that's what I have." The abundance of emotion radiating from the man struck a chord with Emily. She could see the man's pain, and not just physical. It was the kind of pain that echoed her sister's struggle. Perhaps everyone was searching for hope in different ways. Suddenly, an idea sparked in Emily's mind. "What do you think their connection is?" she whispered to Colin. Before Colin could respond, Sarah spoke up again. "Maybe they're dealing with something serious too. Just like us." The commotion quieted, and Emily turned back to her sister, feeling the weight of her own emotions surge. They were all in this together, battling their demons. But what if something within that man's journey held the key to their own healing? "Maybe we should talk to them," Emily mused, glancing back. "All stories connect somehow, right?" Just as she caught Sarah's eye, they both heard a loud crash, breaking the tension further. The man had knocked over his chair, frustration spilling out as everyone in the cafe turned to watch. "What happens next?" Sarah whispered, her heart racing. At that moment, Emily realized they were about to step into something far larger than they could imagine. What if this stranger held a thread that could weave through the fabric of their own journey? As the man shouted again, with emotions boiling over, Emily's heart thumped in her chest. Was it a coincidence or fate? She'd find out soon enough. Emily felt an electric rush as she stood, almost against her own will. Her heart pounded in her chest. She had to know if this was the missing piece they needed. "Come on, guys. Let us talk to them," she urged, glancing back at the rest of her group. "But what if it goes wrong?" Johnny questioned, his brow knitted in concern. "It won't. We just want to help," Emily replied, determination fueling her steps. Sarah watched, surprised but inspired by her sister's resolve. They approached the couple, who were now seated again, but the tension was still palpable in the air. "Hi, excuse us," Emily said, her voice steady, despite the flutter of nerves. "We couldn't help but overhear. Is everything okay?" The woman, perhaps in her late 60s with worry carved into her face, turned to Emily, her expression softening. "Oh, it's just, my husband is dealing with some difficult things. It's been really hard on both of us." "What kind of things?" Colin asked, stepping beside Emily. The man, whose face was still flushed with frustration, took a deep breath. "I was in a situation at the hospital. They promised me a timeline for my recovery. But now they're saying I might need more time than I thought. I'm just tired of waiting. Tired of waiting." Emily felt those words resonate deep within her. "We totally understand," she said softly. My sister is about to begin therapy for a health issue, and we're all feeling pretty scared about the journey ahead. The man's eyes softened a fraction. It's not easy. It feels like you're just chasing shadows sometimes. Their honesty hung in the air like a shared breath. We're all just trying to hold on to hope, Sarah chimed in, her voice trembling with empathy. What if you shared your story with us? Maybe we can find hope together. The couple exchanged glances, the woman's hand reaching for her husband's. That's very kind of you. Her voice wavered, but there was a spark of gratitude in her eyes. We've been married for over 30 years. We've faced battles before, but this one, it feels different. Different how? Mia asked, stepping forward, her interest piqued. More isolating, the man confessed, his guard lowering as he engaged. No one really talks about the raw reality of long recovery times. Everyone wants to see you up and moving, but they forget the journey can be brutal. Emily felt her own fears echo in his words. The journey was precisely what they were all struggling with, through pain, through uncertainty, through the aching hope for a better tomorrow. Maybe we can all help each other, Emily suggested, her heart racing with courage. You can share your experiences with us and we can share ours. We're all navigating something tough here. There was a pause, and the air felt heavier somehow, charged with the weight of shared pain and connection. Then, the man nodded slowly. All right, then. Let us talk. As they settled into the moment, sharing stories over cold coffee and pastries untouched in front of them, Emily lost track of time. Each exchange built a bridge that connected their experiences. The warmth of shared understanding enveloped them, chasing away a fraction of the fear. An hour faded away like a gentle whisper, but just as their laughter and tears intertwined, the couple's joy turned to somber concern. The man's phone buzzed, and the color drained from his face as he read the message. Looks like I need to go back to the hospital, he murmured, uncertainty gripping him. His wife squeezed his hand tightly, anguish hidden behind her eyes. What if something happens to you there? Emily asked, fear creeping in. What if we never see you again? I'll be okay, he assured, but Emily could see the flicker of doubt shadowing his heart. As the couple gathered their things, a sense of urgency hung in the air like a storm cloud. This moment, this merging of lives felt pivotal. Was this the beginning of something bigger? They stood to say their goodbyes, but Emily felt a knot tightening in her chest. Wait, before you go, can we exchange numbers? I want to know how everything turns out for both of us. As the couple exchanged contacts, Emily's heart raced with the realization that what they shared was just the beginning. The uncertainty melted into anticipation, but what they would face next remained unclear, an uncharted territory they were all stepping into together. Let us stay in touch, she said, smiling, but inside her thoughts spiraled. What were their lives going to look like next week, next month? What battles awaited them? With one last glance, the couple left, and Emily turned back to her own group. An electric charge still hummed in the air, but it was now tinged with hope. What had she just stepped into? A community? A lifeline? Or something much more profound? Guys, we might need to prepare, she said quietly. This journey is not just ours anymore. As a wave of anticipation washed over them, one question loomed larger than ever: what awaited them in this fragile, shared journey? The cafe was alive with warmth and hope as Emily and her friends stood together, embracing the new connections they had forged. The weight of uncertainty that had hung heavy in the air felt lighter now, infused with the promise of shared stories and potent purpose. With each glance exchanged among them, silent vows were made. They were united in their mission to support Sarah and each other through the challenges ahead. Okay, said Emily, her voice steady, let us make a plan. We'll gather everything we need for Sarah's treatment and keep that momentum going. She felt the resolve solidify within her, a beautiful tapestry of determination woven with the threads of their collective struggles. Absolutely, Johnny said, his eyes flashing with a fierce sense of loyalty. We're in this together. All of us. Mia chimed in, excitement bubbling beneath her calm demeanor. And we need to reach out to that couple, too. Their journey will intertwine with ours, whether they realize it or not. We could help each other. Yes. Sarah responded, sitting up a little straighter, a flicker of her old spirit shining through. If this experience has taught us anything, it's that we're not meant to do this battle alone. Colin, who had been quietly absorbing the atmosphere around him, nodded. The connections we're forming here can be the bridge to healing, not just for Sarah, but for all of us. Let us rally everyone around this. As they sat down to pen down ideas and action items, Emily felt an unexpected weight lift off her shoulders. The progression toward Sarah's treatment took on a new urgency, but this time it was fueled by a community, its pulse syncing beautifully with that of the cafe surrounding them, where laughter intermingled with the clinking of cups and sizzling of food on griddles. They were alive, vulnerable, and connected. Fast forward a few days, the cafe transformed into their strategy hub, each visit feeling like a new chapter in an unfolding story of hope. Flyers on the walls shared Sarah's impending treatment, inviting anyone who would listen to join their cause. Friends of neighbors stopped by, bringing encouragement and baked goods as tokens of support. Each uplifting comment, every sweet gesture, filled Emily with a sense of belonging that had been absent for so long. One sunny afternoon, the door swung open, and in walked the couple from before the man, still looking a bit frail but with a renewed spark in his eyes, and his wife by his side, strong and fierce. With them, they brought fresh stories of laughter amidst their trials, and the room buzzed with their experiences. "Hey! We've been following what you're doing for Sarah," the man said, his voice tinged with pride. "We want in on this. What if we hosted a community fundraiser right here?" His wife suggested, her excitement palpable. "Get people involved, share knowledge, and raise some funds. It could be a beautiful gathering. Nobody should feel isolated in their fight." Emily looked toward her sister, who flashed a smile that lit up the room. This was it. The moment where healing could bloom in unexpected ways. "We would love that," Emily exclaimed. "Let us create something impactful together." They quickly got to work, rallying everyone in the cafe to pitch in. Posters filled the walls, excitement bubbled in the air, and countless hearts aligned. In the days that followed, the cafe shimmered with purpose. Patrons smiled a little brighter, and everyone felt their lives intertwine, encased in the warmth of their shared determination. One evening, as the stars blinked above the cozy cafe, the air filled with music and laughter. The fundraiser blossomed into an idyllic gathering, a merging of souls bound by intention and bravery. People danced, shared stories, and created newfound connections. It felt like the weight of struggle was lifted, replaced by the fragile yet powerful nature of hope. As Emily looked around, she felt overwhelmed with gratitude. She noticed Sarah laughing by the corner, vibrant, glowing, alive. At that moment, it hit her. This was the magic they had all been waiting for, the beautiful, unbreakable thread of community that could weave through the tapestry of their trials and tribulations. With each shared tear, every burst of laughter, they were stitching something lasting, something stronger. Sarah's journey was no longer hers alone. They created a beautiful alliance, rich with resilience, love, and support that could withstand whatever storms lay ahead. With joy in her heart, Emily caught Colin's eye as they shared a silent affirmation. Sometimes, the most unexpected paths lead to the most beautiful destinations. Together, they were ready to face whatever would come next with courage, laughter, and an unwavering bond, because hope, in its many forms, is best shared. As the night flourished into an unforgettable celebration, Emily found herself holding on to that moment, a promise made, a new beginning forged. Together, they could overcome anything. And so, as they all gathered for one last toast to this miraculous journey of healing and connection, Emily felt a wave of hope wash over her, stronger than she'd ever known. You need to subscribe now to not miss our next exclusive stories that will touch your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this beautiful transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting our community through these actions.